right, so listen, the Isle of Armor DLC comes out in 2 days, and I'm super excited. I made a video last week going over Pokemon that I am the most excited are returning in the Isle of Armor specifically. And then my friend, Dr. Slacking, who also is a fantastic creator, I'll leave his link in the description down below if you want to go check him out. He does a lot of Pokemon Draft League content. He actually showed me this document, and I don't know how long this document has been floating around, but basically this document goes over every new TM and TR that Pokemon that are coming in learn. I don't think all these Pokemon, by the way, aren't confirmed for the Isle of Armor. I think some of them have been confirmed for the Crown Tundra, but I got to looking at it and I sort of have made a small list of Pokemon that I think are getting the biggest upgrades to their movesets. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're just going to be talking about Pokemon that got buffed, and I hope you're excited for this. Just to sort of clarify what this is going to be a list of Pokemon that I think are getting exponentially stronger from new moves they're learning once they come into Sword and Shield. I would also like to shout out whoever compiled this list. On this document, the only two names are Jackanev and @SiresM. I will leave a link to this document in the description down below if you want to look at it, but shout out to those people for presumably compiling this. All right, so before we get into the 6 Pokemon that I think are getting the absolute biggest upgrades, I kind of want to go over some honorable mentions here. Now, this is a whole list, so a lot of Pokemon are getting better just because they're getting access to more moves, but a lot of these moves either sort of reiterate what that Pokemon's kit can already do, or it doesn't enhance it enough that I think it deserves a spot on this list. But these honorable mentions do, just not as much as the sort of like top tier threats I have picked out. Okay, so first up on the honorable mentions is going to be Crobat. Crobat's getting access to Assurance, Agility, Crunch, Hex, and Hurricane. I think basically none of this matters except for Hurricane, and Hurricane is going to be very niche. Crobat has a nasty plot set that it can run. It is not the most effective, and probably the reason it's not the most effective right now is because out of its 2 stabs, both Flying and Poison, Flying is the one you want to be more spammable, but it only had access to Air Slash as sort of a special flying type attack before this. Having access to Hurricane gives it a much stronger, albeit much more inaccurate, flying stab to take advantage of, and also it gets perfect accuracy and rain for whatever that's worth. Again, this is niche. It just caught my eye as something that might be viable. Next honorable mention is going to be Azumarill. Azumarill is getting access to Mud Shot, Draining Kiss, Brutal Swing, Misty Terrain, and High Horsepower. Once again, I really only think high horsepower makes a difference here. So high horsepower here is just giving Azumarill different options to deal with steel types. The only option you really had before this was superpower, and that comes with a -1 attack and defense debuff after you use the move. So it's niche. Like I said, the honorable mentions are niche. I don't think that they are drastically shaking up the Pokemon, but I think it's worth mentioning that now it has access to high horsepower, and that's a 95 base power ground move that can help you deal with steel types. Whereas normally you're just spamming water type attacks and play roughs. So if high horsepower does more than your liquidation or your waterfall, you click it. Easy. Next up is probably the most sus honorable mention I have here. It's gonna be Fortress. It gets Body Press. Fortress has been notoriously passive forever. Body Press essentially gives it 140 base attack stat to work off of. Body Press is kind of a busted move in general. A lot of Pokemon are getting access to Body Press. It makes a lot of Pokemon better, but Fortress specifically is known for being aggressively passive. Fortress's defining trait is having access to Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Stealth Rock, and Rapid Spin, so there's a lot of roll compression in one Pokemon. It's just never been able to deal damage, and I think Body Press actually gives it a good option to deal consistent damage. So yeah, probably not meta defining, but just gives Fortress a way to not be as aggressively passive as it has always been whilst trying to hazard stack. The last honorable mention is going to be Gliscor. Gliscor is getting access to Pin Missile, Assurance, Power Whip, Scary Face, and Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs kind of matters here. A lot of Pokemon are getting access to Psychic Fangs. I think it's a good option to have. It helps you break screens, which is super good. But more importantly, it gets access to Power Whip here. Now, mind you, there's normally only 2 ways Gliscor is run. One of them super offensive with Sword Stance. I could see Power Whip slotting onto that set with Power Whip, Earthquake, Sword Stance, and then coverage option. It would just give Gliscor an option to hit bulky water types that were trying to end its sweep. The other way people run Gliscor is more utility oriented with things like Taunt, Stealth Rocks, and Protect, so you get more poison heal damage. I don't think Power Whip's ever making it onto that set. but I think it could be really good on an offensive Gliscor set. So it gets an honorable mention here. All right, that's it with the honorable mentions. We're actually going to move into the 6 Pokemon I think get really massive buffs here. These are in no particular order, by the way. And once again, a lot of Pokemon are getting better. These are just ones that caught my eye. I fully invite you to look at this list. And if there's something you think I missed, just let me know in the comment section down below. Okay, but really quickly, before we get into the main list, I just want to say if you're enjoying watching me talk about Pokemon or enjoy watching me game or play Teamfight Tactics or anything, I stream over on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I've been streaming more than that lately, but strictly every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It'll be the top link in the description down below. Also, I've started a second YouTube channel where I can focus on more experimental types of content. The first video is up on that channel. It's me rapping YouTube comments. It's kind of absurd, and it's supposed to be. And if that interests you, it'll be the second link in the description down below. But now, let's just talk about competitive Pokemon. All right, so like I said, these are in no particular order, but I figure we might as well start off with a banger, and that's going to be Tapu Bulu. In Pokemon Sword and Shield, Tapu Bulu is going to be able to learn Bullet Seed, Close Combat, Play Rough, and High Horsepower, and Darkest Lariat. Really, the important ones here are Close Combat, High Horsepower, but the most important is Play Rough. Play Rough is a lot of what Tapu Bulu is missing for all of Gen 7. It gives it really good physical options for both of its dual stabs now, which it just lacked before. I mean, you would see people running Calm Mind special Tapu Bulus, even though its special attack is significantly lower than its physical attack, just because it got access to Dazzling Gleam. Close Combat also gives you a really good way to break steals that's not superpower, which I think is massive. High Horsepower is kind of in the same boat there. Darkest Lariat's kind of met. You probably won't run it unless it's a specific situation. And I could actually see Bullet Seed having its niche uses as well. Bullet Seed, if you are predicting a Focus Sash or if you are battling a Mimikyu or something like that, I think Bullet Seed could be viable. The moral of the story is Tapu Bulu gets access to Play Rough. I think it's a massive upgrade. I love Tapu Bulu as a Pokemon. I don't know when Tapu Bulu is going to be released. I don't know if it's going to be the Isle of Armor or the Crown Tundra, but I'm just super excited that it's going to be released with Play Rough. I think that's such a massive upgrade. All right, so the next Pokemon on the list probably could have fit in the honorable mention because it's like 1.5 moves that are making it better, but I thought that it was such a massive power jump that it was worth talking about and worth saying that it's actually getting just a massive buff. And that's going to be Zapdos. Zapdos, for its entire lifespan, has not had a reasonable special flying type attack. This is sort of the same argument I was making with Crobat earlier, except for Zapdos actually has a really high special attack stat, so it's going to make use of these two moves very well. And also, Dr. Slacking, the one who linked me to this list, pointed out that in Rain, Zapdos has access to 100% accurate Thunders and Hurricanes. I'm not saying that's the most broken thing in the world. I am saying that's something worth looking at. That is a lot of firepower coming at 100% accuracy from a really high special attack stat. I could be wrong, and if you think I am, please let me know, but I really think this is just such a massive buff to Zapdos. It looks incredibly strong with just access to these two moves. All right, so next up on the list is Electrode. Electrode is now getting access to Agility. Electrode has always had problems outspeeding things. All right, it was believable for like a second though, right? All right, so next on the list is a little cheaty. This isn't better specifically because of a move Sword and Shield is letting it learn. It's gonna be Slowbro. Slowbro got access to Teleport and Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. So Sword and Shield will be the first main series games that Slowbro will be able to teleport competitively, and that's really big game. If you don't know, Teleport got a big buff in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so now instead of doing nothing inside a battle, it's kind of like a negative priority U-turn. So it always goes last and it switches you out, and then you get to switch into whatever. It's really good for building momentum. It's really, really good on Slowbro because he has access to Regenerator, and you can just put on a lot of pressure with Slowbro now. Slowbro also gets access to Body Press, which is good. That's another Pokemon that can abuse Body Press pretty well. Other than that, the offerings here aren't super great. Stored Power could honestly be massive on the right Slowbro set. I have a hard time seeing it personally, but it could be a thing. And then we're getting access to like Hydro Pump. So Hydro Pump, Teleport, and Body Press, nasty plot kind of, but I think you just always call mine. But yeah, this is the first time Slowbro is going to be legal with Teleport, and I think it's going to be notorious for generating value and staying at a very high health total in these games. All right, so next on the list is Kingdra, and I think Kingdra is honestly probably the closest to being an honorable mention. It's really only getting access to Liquidation and Hurricane, and those help two drastically different sets, but Liquidation gives you a move that you can spam when you're trying to break as a physically offensive Kingdra, and Hurricane gives you a move that can break past bulky grass types on especially especially offensive Kingdra. Also, you're always trying to run Kingdra in the rain, so having access to Hurricane in the rain with your Swift Swim boost means that it's going to be 100% accurate. I know Hurricane has been a repeated theme in this so far, but honestly, Hurricane is such a devastating move that if its accuracy was even 90%, if it was 20% higher, I think that a lot of Pokemon that get access to Hurricane would be banned. Like Tornadus Therian, if Hurricane was 100% accurate all the time, probably instant ban. At least this is my draft league brain looking at this. Hurricane is just a really hard move to switch in on. It's obviously not one of Kingdra's stabs. You want to be using water type moves more often than not, but Hurricane, it's just going to tear through things. Choice Specs, I'm sure Choice Specs Kingdra Hurricanes decimates most bulky grass types. All right, so we're getting towards the end here, and next up is going to be Alakazam. Alakazam gets access to one very important thing, and that's Nasty Plot. Nasty Plot turns Alakazam into a ferocious wall breaker. Now all of a sudden, nothing is living its attacks. It has Magic Guard. It's not taking damage from entry hazards. You can always get up a Nasty Plot with a Focus Sash. You can always try to set up Substitute in face of a Sucker Punch. There's no more Pursuit. I think Nasty Plot Alakazam is really good here. Alakazam has essentially perfect coverage options, still even without hidden power. Alakazam has a really good speed stat, especially in a metagame that's relatively slow, and honestly, I think Alakazam's gonna be a monster. This and Slowbro were the two that Dr. Slacking actually talked to me about the most, and out of both of them, I think honestly they both look like monsters. They're serving completely different roles. Alakazam is a terrifying late game cleaner, Slowbro a really good momentum generating defensive pivot. If Pursuit was still in the game, this just wouldn't matter, but so many Pokemon get so much better because Pursuit is gone. It makes you question why they removed Pursuit. All right, so the last Pokemon on this list is actually the first Pokemon on my I'm most excited for these returning video, which by the way, if you haven't seen that, I think it's a really fun video. It's worth your watch. It will be the third link in the description down below. I know I plugged it earlier, but I forgot to mention a link. There'll also be a card right here, but either way, the Pokemon is Poliwrath, and in that video, I talked about Poliwrath returning and being in a good spot if it got access to either Drain Punch or Close Combat. Well, it turns out it's getting access to both. That's insane. Drain Punch means automatically that a sub bulk up set is super viable, just like sub bulk up Drain Punch Water Stab. It also gets access to Liquidation here, which is less relevant because it's always had Waterfall, but Liquidation is good for breaking through defensive walls. I don't know, man. I just think Poliwrath is going to be in a really strong spot. It's basically never had a good physical fighting type move, and now it has access to two fantastic ones, probably arguably two of the best physical fighting type moves. That's such a massive power increase. Not to mention Poliwrath gets access to Darkest Lariat. A lot of Pokemon get Darkest Lariat, but Poliwrath might actually need the coverage to hit Psychic types. I tweeted out a million years ago, look, this is the tweet. I tweeted out a million years ago, how much better would Poliwrath be if it got access to reasonable fighting type moves? This is like my dream come true. Okay, just let me have this one. All right, so that's gonna be it. That's the video. These are the 6 Pokemon that I think are getting really, really massive buffs just with their moveset changes. If you have Pokemon that you think are getting better than the ones I did, let me know in the comment section down below. We can talk about this. Let's have a conversation. Other than that, please remember, if you are not following me on Twitch, I do stream frequently over there. I would love to have you in a stream. We can chat about this over there as well. If you enjoyed this video, please remember to leave a like. It is something that helps me out immensely, and the YouTube algorithm is something I'm trying to figure out myself, but I just know likes help. And if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. We're going to be doing Isle of Armor content really soon. I'm already queued up for a draft league, in fact. So if you miss draft league content from me, or if you're excited that I'm trying to post more regular content, then here's your chance. Subscribe. Go on this journey with me. I might upload teamfight tactics every once in a while, but just click on the Pokemon videos if that's all you want. Okay, that's it. I love you. I gotta go. Bye.